he is. How you doing, Diego?
Hey Jackson, very good, man. Happy to be here, man. How are you?
Excellent, man. I was great, but now almost perfect, man. Good to see you, bro.
Awesome, man. Great to see you too, man.
Excellent, excellent. So I was just telling people a little bit about the background, how you absolutely rocked it with us, Student Kings. Been really, really enjoying getting to know you, getting to hear more of your perspective. And to me, one of the coolest things that you're doing is really fulfilling the prophecy that I'm sure you're familiar with of the eagle and the condor, North America and South America coming together to blend the psychological traditions and scientific and whatever other, Northern American traditions with the depth of the spirituality, the shamanism, and your own different, branch of psychology and wellness and philosophy of living well internally and externally. It's great to have you on, bro. Look forward to getting into the details here and sharing some of your wisdom with the world.
Yeah, man. Thanks for the invitation and opening the space to, keep on sharing, our hearts here. As we sometimes like even, have fun, saying it like this is, it's getting addicted, just being, having these spaces to, to share our heart, to be the source of inspiration. So, thank you for offering this space, to fulfill my addiction.
And the best addiction ever. I mean, when we can meet people and bring some clarity, bring some peace, bring some solace, bring some positive, energy to someone's life. I mean, what's really better than that? And it's a real honor to be able to share some things that I've required and bring in other amazing people like yourself to share your wisdom. It's really it's the most fun thing ever. And so now we're on a mission to do it more and more. And June 18th to the 20th, we'll be down somewhere in Florida. We're working on the location. We'll lock that up this week, just so anyone listening can tune ahead to some great things. Send your guys. There's going to be some women stuff coming up soon too. My goal here is to share from my desires for this is to have you share some of the problems that you see in the world, some of what guys are bringing up, some of what women are bringing up, and helping to see how you're alleviating that. So when you look at some of the issues that men are having, women are having either by themselves or together, what are some of the common issues that you see coming up with your clients and in your work?
Yes. Okay. Well, that's a big question, but if I have to say like like a common thing, I would definitely say that we've been too trained to be in our heads. That's kind of like the main issue that we could see in humanity is that we've been stuck in our rational mind. For centuries we kind of been training ourselves and applauding just being in that aspect of who we are, that rational aspect of who we are. If you see in education in schools, they're all about hopefully that's changing. We could see that there are some schools that are changing, but in the past, in still is like the main way to teach children. It's about is teaching that left brain, like just that brain that it's all about logic, that it's all about structure, that it's it's that's what it's important in education. That's what we focus on teaching children,
Right.
only that aspect. But that other aspect, that other brain view, that it's all about this about feeling, that it's all that's about art, communication, language, that sometimes that get repressed. And so we've been too much in that here, the IQ, it's all about being intelligent and being logic, and that's for men and women. But we could definitely see that more and more with men. We've been
Yeah.
stuck in our head for centuries. So if there's one problem that I could say, that's the one.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a monster. I mean, I've done some pretty heavy digging into where our Western school system came from, and it's actually a Prussian. The country Prussia existed doesn't exist anymore, but it's a Prussian military model for training factory workers. Like kindergarten is not that's not an American word, not an English word. Typically, it's a German Prussian word. And the whole thing is the bell, the sit stand, is to train you to be a robot, and it's to train society to be robots. And the powers that be don't want free thinking, feeling, communicating people that are able to look at the scams of the world and go, oh, that's bullshit. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to create
Yeah.
the life that I want because I have a dream and I want to bring it into the world, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to make that manifest to myself and to serve the humanity with it. No, they want a factory worker and someone who's going
Yes.
to work much differently.
Yes,
So what typically stands in the way for people that want to make that transition, or guys that are, or women too, that are trying to go from that rational thinking mind into the more that feeling connected
that's
space?
it's simple, but it's not easy. But it's the connection
Yeah.
with the yeah, it's the connection with the present moment. That's the key. If you
Mm,
hear and read, and connect with the spiritual teachers and the spiritual traditions, they're all about being here and now, reminding us that this is the only thing that really exists. This moment,
mm,
feeding more that connection with your feelings. We've been so disconnected even from our body, so our body is the first step. It's not the final one, because then when we connect with your physical body, that's gonna be the entrance for your energy body. And in your energy body, you're gonna be more in tune what's really happening here. Because sometimes the physical body has also these memories, these emotions. So we gotta be aware of all those different feelings that you could experience in your inner world. So we're talking about here becoming masters of our inner world. But the first step is just start feeling your body. For a lot of men and women, of course, but we see a lot of this with men that just describing emotions are super challenging. Like, what are you talking about? I feel good. I feel bad. But it's like, okay, well, where do you feel it? What can you tell me about it? Like, bring some distinctions. Like, it's all collapse, good, bad, and it's very, very challenging to really for a lot of men to really bring distinctions to the different layers of feeling. So the
yeah.
first step would be to be more in our bodies. That would be the
Mm.
first step, to start reconnecting with your body. Bring the practice.
What's your process for helping to like distinct and spread out the different colors of feelings?
Yes. So there's different patterns. Like the path of personal growth is very personal. So that's why it's always helpful to have a personal process. That's why I love to work with people one on one. But again, like when we do it in groups, what we help them is just to become more aware of the different elements that every state has. Like what I mean by that is, like, for instance, I help them to inhabit the state of being depressed. Like, okay, now you are depressed. Just tell me how a depressed person can move, and they start just reconnecting and becoming more aware. Oh yes, I have this tendency to move like this, to breathe like this, to
Hmm.
think like this, to behave like this. And
Yeah.
then, they're starting to recognize, oh, this is how it feels. That's what this guy is talking about, feeling. Oh, okay, I connect with that. I connect
Yeah.
with that. And then if
Yeah,
it gets
being
with
present and, like, being in the body, I hate to interrupt, but, like, being present or being in your body, for me, that I can absorb that, like, as a guy, I can work with that. Being in your feelings, there's such, like, a strong resistance to that, and they're both mean that means I should go more into that.
Yes, I mean, that's like a big part. It's like with everything else. Like if you get close to something, whatever you have in front of you, if you have a lamp, if you have a tree, if you get closer to it and you bring that focus you're gonna start recognizing little details. Oh, you can start recognizing, these little forms just by bringing that, close focus to it. And then the same thing happened with meditation. Like when you start giving your attention to particular feelings, that just, oh, I feel good or feel bad, then okay, focus on that feeling good or focus on that feeling bad without the bringing the labels or the judgment. Just be aware, connect with that, feel that for a moment. Then you're gonna start recognizing different little things there. Oh, and you're gonna start, you're gonna be able to create distinctions between the different layers of feelings that each, that the good or the bad feeling that you have, carry. So it's like with everything else, it's about practice. A lot of times we, again, because of that habit of being in our heads, we want to understand things. We want like a rational or logic answer to, okay, I get it. Okay. We want like the quick answer. We want the quick, solution. But this is all about practice, like training yourself to be more in the feeling, because it's like learning a language. You've been trained to learn the language of the rational mind. Now it's about learning the language of the body, or language, learning the language of the subconscious and unconscious mind, which is the feelings. There's so many different layers there. So it's important that you start, creating that reconnection with your feeling. And there's infinite layers to through that.
hmm Yeah, it's so cool seeing how the blending of cultures has such benefit. And I think that in the Western world, speaking for myself at least, we have that this very high speed society. We're extremely like time focused, punctual. To me, Latin society doesn't offend anybody. I think it's just true, but Latin society is less time focused. In Miami, there's Miami time, and I think it can be challenging at times when everyone shows up 2 hours late to something, but it's also amazing because it is more in that feeling, in that being, and not just this hyper, high speed, mental state, which is pretty exhausting, really. So it's so cool to see you kind of bring these different schools of thought together.
Yes, yes, and it's very relative, because sometimes, like being in the present moment, it could that could mean different speeds, different rhythms, and
Mhm.
but usually what I hear you saying, it's a tendency when we are in our heads, and this
Yeah,
this is what happens with most of society, that we've been conditioned to think that is through the accomplishing of things, or goals, that we're going to experience happiness. We've been conditioned to the lie. And of course, a lot of people now know that that's not true. Like, a
yeah,
lot, I work with a lot of, successful people that have,
mm,
big bank accounts, cars and houses, but
yeah,
there's a big sensation of emptiness inside. So it's like, where's this happiness that, the mass media is telling me that I was going to get it, with this fat? It's
yeah,
not happening. So,
yeah,
and what's happening there is that that's, being in the head, being in the head. You see,
mm,
that's a trick of the mind, or the ego, as we could call it, which is, it's kind of a rejection of the present moment. That belief is telling you this moment is not enough. But when you get this and that, when you get this amount of money, when you get this car, when you get this promotion, when you get this relationship, when you get this body, when you get this, then you're gonna be happy. But we know that that's not the truth. Once you get there, that same pattern of belief is gonna keep on taking you somewhere else. Is that's an infinite, a process that you're never gonna get there. It's always in the future. It's being in the head. The head is never here. Because
yeah,
if you realize, to be fully present, when you're fully present, there's no thoughts. You're not in your head. When you're
mm,
fully present, experiencing this moment, you're not thinking. And
mhm,
that's really experiencing the fullness of life. And so it's a different process. But then when you're in the present moment, you can also experience different speeds. It's like you're in the flow. It could be like, flowing like water. Water sometimes is really calm, sometimes it's like a tsunami. But it's not the mind, bringing that decision, but it's more about
mm,
being tuned into the heart. Somebody, Francis was saying, in learning the language of the heart. Yes, I definitely connect with that. It's that's the ultimate goal, is really connecting with the heart. The heart is that key to access to our soul. And it's not the organ of the heart, but it's more like the energetic heart, which is that access to our soul. So yes.
yeah. Yeah, so cool. And now modern science is backing, these, esoteric or metaphysical or kind of woo-woo concepts up, and showing neurons in the heart, showing the electrical field of the heart. So this really is the center of the soul. Like this is our nice processor. Like this will give you good math and whatever. But the intelligence is down here.
Yes, that's also pretty cool, because a lot of times when we say, "Oh no, connect with your heart, or to follow your heart," it seems and it sounds very poetic, and it could be, very poetic. But we're also talking about science here. Like, as you were saying, now we know that there's like about 40,000 neurons in the heart. So the heart carries a particular intelligence that it works in like in its own way. It's not connected. I mean, it's connected to the brain, but it's actually sending more information to the brain than the brain to the heart. And
Mm,
when we measure the electromagnetic field of the heart, it's thousands and thousands of times bigger than to the heart to the brain. So we know that if there's like a leader here, it's in the heart. So that's why we're talking about following your heart. The challenge here is that the heart communicates in a different way because we've
mm,
been so conditioned to be in our head that we are used to act from a place of security and comfort, which is the logical mind. So
mhm,
when we're used to that, the way we make decisions is like, okay, I will take that step, but I need to know all the other steps, to
mhm,
my goal. If it's not safe, I'm not gonna jump. But
mm,
the heart is the other way. The heart is just you
mm.
feel this certainty. It's a feeling. That's how it's communicated. You feel this certainty. You know this is the right thing to do right now. You might don't know what's the next few steps. You don't even know. But it's more about jumping into the unknown. That's why it's
Yes.
challenging. It's taking risks, but that's the wisdom of the heart. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me that when for me that the ability to follow through and that courage comes from twofold. One, the fact that I was very disconnected from that for a long time and in the corporate world and doing all that and experiencing the slow misery of that. And then the other side is having faith in a creator and spirit in a higher intelligence that's outside of myself. That's very difficult to describe. That religions could call God, but that's a very loaded term. It brings up so much pain and judgment and stuff from the past that religions have done to screw up our divinity. But I think when we have that faith that when we jump, that the net will appear, or then that when we make that commitment. Yeah, thanks for all the comments, everybody. That's really beautiful. The electromagnetic frequency that the heart produces, it creates a language in which hearts actually speak to each other through that sound's frequency. I freaking love that. I love to hear more of your thoughts on that right there.
Yes, yes. And I also think it's very important what you're saying because the heart is in connection with that universal mind. Like when we're in our mind and our head, that's the purpose of the logical mind. It's security, it's safety, it's keep us alive. But so that's the part that sees us as disconnected, as independent beings. So
Mhm.
that's why we call it the ego, because we see us disconnected from everything else, and that's in charge of making sure that that individual is safe and it's protected. So that's the purpose of the ego, and it's doing it really. It has a very beautiful purpose. But the problem is that when we identify with our ego, our purpose becomes that safety and security, survival, and we're missing the point of being alive. So the beauty of connecting with our heart, or reconnecting with our heart, or just being aware that we are more in this essence that is in the heart, is that we start reconnecting or becoming more aware of that connection that we have with everything. We are life. We are and again, this is also science. Now quantum physics, they tell us, yes, there's this quantum field where everything is connected. They can measure this. We're just becoming aware of this in a conscious way, in a way that we can sense and be fully aware of this connection that we have with everything else. And when we are in this place, that's why we got this guidance from this greater intelligence, however we want to call this, God, universe, I don't know, chapter, source, it doesn't really matter. Well, it's important for you to have that, important connection with this source. But the important thing is that we really experience, the beauty of life in this place, and we are becoming part of life. We are aligning with the purpose of life when we are in this place.
Mm. Well, here's to aligning with the purpose of life. What do you feel like the purpose of life is, Diego?
Hmm. well, I mean, the purpose of life is to life. I would love to say is to be alive. That's the purpose of life. But if we start kind of bringing some logic to it, we could see that in a way, this purpose of life is usually inviting us to two things. It's inviting us to grow I could use different words to express that, because once again, when we're using words, we're very limited. We're just pointing out something, but what we're really talking is something greater than the word. So when I say grow, I'm also saying integration. I'm also saying expansion. I'm also saying forgiveness, because that's what we do.
Mhm.
Anytime that we bring forgiveness, we bring integration to different parts of ourselves that are disconnected. So far that we are rejecting of ourselves. Anytime that we bring integration, forgiveness, we keep on creating wholeness. Francis saying that there's no sound.
Oh,
You hear
I
it?
still hear you. It's,
Okay.
does anyone else throw up a sign if someone can still hear us? Devon, throw up an emoji if you can still hear us. I think Stacy can still hear us.
Okay. Okay. Well, I hope they it's not, we're gonna send, this electromagnetic fields. No.
Don't
So
activate the sound waves with the power of our quantum soul. Let's go.
So I was saying that there's these two things that usually, we get from the invitation of life, which is, growing in however way you understand it, and also contribution, that it's related, but in difference to the logical mind, which is from this place of safety and security, it's also looking, to get from a selfish, point of view. It's kind of, the question is, what is here to me? What can I get here? And when we are more in tune with life, with our hearts, the question and the focus changes to more, what can I contribute here? How can I be at service here? What can I give here? And from a place of fulfillment, not from a place, it's in, that a lot of people I hear like, no, I'm all about service. But what is motivating you? Like, you think you're gonna
Mhm.
get something because you're doing that, because that's the trick of the ego. Oh, I'm gonna give so I can get. But when we're really in the heart, it's just because of the joy that we experience, when we are tuning into that source of contribution, growth, inspiration, love. And so I believe if we can bring words to the intention of life, I would say that is that growth and contribution.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that, man. There's so many tangents to go down there. The one that I think gets me the most is the forgiveness piece. And I think for me, self forgiveness was one of the most difficult things, and wanting to, do important things and be a high performance person and be able to, work at a significant level, led to a lot of perfectionism and, a major harshness and like self loathing when there'd be any kind of little mistakes. So when you look at people who have, self forgiveness issues, what's your medicine to them?
Yes. So I just, with the forgiveness in relation also to what we're saying, there's a great book called The Course in Miracles. And they say there, you are the light of the world. Your function as the light of the world is to forgive. So according to that book,
Mm,
that's what we're doing here.
mm,
We are here experiencing this life as human beings to forgive. So,
mm,
and then to answer your question, what I see, and this was also related to what we were doing in our retreat. When we were talking about healing, something that I see in everybody that I work with, something that I see in myself, is this belief that we all human beings carry, which is, I'm not good enough. There's something
mm,
wrong with me, and that could create different identities or different strategies to create fulfillment. One of them is becoming the overachiever, like being so, heavy and strong with you, that, it has to be perfect, and there's no limit. You're always, going through the next one, because maybe at some point in your childhood, that's the strategy that you created to experience recognition, to experience feeling, love. That in my case was the other way, which was like, I'm not good enough. So I was just feeling that I was not worthy of anything else. And I was so disconnected. I start creating a lot of isolation to myself. Those are two of the more common ones, but there's plenty of more identities and strategies that we create to cope with, the environment in which we grow. So that's one thing. And just that how to heal that, how to heal that wound that it's telling you, I'm not good enough. I'm not, there's something wrong with me, that I'm pretty sure that everyone that is listening to us, and because we have it, I'm sure that there's a layer in you that carries that. So
Mm,
big part of what we're talking about here, it's self-acceptance, self-love, which is, self-forgiveness. So it's also, and this is connected to the first thing that we were sharing, deep inside is bringing forgiveness to life, is bringing forgiveness to the
mm,
present moment. Because anytime that you are rejecting part of yourself, it's you're rejecting life. And when you're rejecting
mm,
life, what you're rejecting is this moment, which is the only thing that exists. So the
mm,
more peace you bring to this moment, the more things you bring into life, the more peace you're bringing to who you are. So the key in everything is in this moment. In this
mm,
moment, what is your relationship with this moment? That's the key here. If you can really bring forgiveness to this moment, which is you can really bring connection, love, acceptance to this moment, that's what we're doing. We're becoming masters of our relationship with this present moment.
woof. Put that on a plaque, man. That. Anybody out there that has questions for Diego, please fire away for me. Would love to address them and just add as much value as we can here. And when you said forgiveness to life, man, that really hit hard. What's your process, or what are some words you have on forgiving life?
So there is like a structure that I usually, bring, and it's there's two paths. One, it's like, let's say you gotta first become aware of the identity that is creating the resistance, the rejection to life. Because remember, you are life. The identity is not who you are, but we are all, part of, we're all developing these identities, the identity of the wounded boy that said, you know what, I'm not good enough. So in order for me to feel love, I have to be the best in this and that. Okay, so recognizing what is the identity within you that is suffering? What is the identity within you that is wounded? Recognizing
Mm,
that one first. Second step will be to bring forgiveness to it, to see it, to confront that identity, and you like confront it, realizing like, let's see if that's true. That was maybe true at some point in your childhood because it was necessary for you to experience love by achieving this and that because you didn't have the capacities in that environment as a boy, as a child, to be in any other way. A lot of times when we're children, we have to cope with the environment. If we don't please our parents, we experience pain. That's the truth.
mm,
So it's important in our body creates those strategies to avoid pain and to create pleasure or peace at those moments. So we need to see that and talk to that identity, feel that identity is okay. You got a point. I understand that. I see that. That had its time, but now I'm an adult. Now I'm free. Now I don't need to please anybody to feel. Now I don't need to please anybody to feel safe, to feel love. Now I'm free to live my life and I don't really need, that validation from the external places, from external people. I could bring that validation within myself. So that'll be the second step. And the third one, it's
mm,
create your future identity. And so choose who you want to be. Choose who you want to be. And that's what we're doing with all these men that we're helping the retreat. Choose who you want to be. Choose what feelings you want to create. Choose the beliefs that you want to feed. Choose those habits that you want to grow. Choose, your life. And super important, which is related also to the beginning of this conversation, is cultivate that place within you that is free from identities. This is this is the key here. So cultivate that place or that true self that is free from identities. It's the same thing that we're talking. When you're in connection with your heart, with the present moment, you're gonna see that beyond all these identities and thoughts, you're still alive. You're this big consciousness
mm.
that is still alive. If the more you're able to cultivate this relationship with who you really are, the more simple and beautiful your life will transform.
And take a minute on that one, man. That's great. Identifying with the aspect of ourself that is free from identities. Is that how you articulated that?
Yeah, or I am. It's cultivating
Cultivating.
cultivating the true self that is free from identities.
Hmm. And what do you see happen for people that are able to cultivate more of that true self?
Well, beauty, fulfillment, joy, abundance, love, because that's really the truth. It's you know, the only place where you can be fully happy is this moment.
Mm.
It doesn't matter what your mind is telling you, or all these different beautiful plans that is telling you. The only place where you can be fully happy is here. So it's in that relationship with that place. And when you reconnect with that essence, you're gonna see that everything always transforms. But there's a place within you that is always in peace, that is always
Mm.
uh, that is well-being, that is always in joy. It doesn't matter what is happening, it's always challenging. Yes, it's there could be challenge, there could be challenging moments in life, but the more you're in connection with this true essence, the more you're going to be able to transcend those moments without attachment, without attachment to the bad aspects, the bad moments, the challenging aspects, or even without attachments to the good moments, to the joyful moments, which also creates suffering. That's what the Buddha always, the Buddha said, life is suffering. We call it dukkha. Life is dukkha. And there is a path to liberate ourselves from dukkha, because the reason of dukkha is ignorance, and the ignorance of believing that we are something that we are not. But the more we are aware of who we really are, the more we're able to experience the liberation from that suffering, the more we're able to experience the natural joy that comes just by being alive.
Mm. Yeah, I love that, man. I was talking with Pablo the other day, and actually it was a text, but he said that the root etymology, Pablo, he's a big
Yeah.
fan of that,
Yeah.
of suffering relates to allowance, and that when we resist allowing life, that's what gets us
Mhm.
into suffering. And the more that we can find a connection to the goodness within ourselves, and I forget who it was commented on people pleasing, but I think there's a really cool connection there because, people pleasing, we're trying to like work with other people's emotions, and it's really manipulative. It's like a, survival instinct, but it's really kind of it's a nasty thing to do, really, ultimately, because you're really manipulating people. And I've done it plenty in the past, and being very vigilant to make sure I don't do that in the present and future, because it definitely was an issue for me. Um, but when we can trust ourselves, when we can trust life, then we don't have the desire, the need to try to change it or to fix it or to manage all these people and emotions, and we can be like, no, I'm good. Like, there's a world of awesomeness inside me that I'm working with right now. It's great. So I don't need to, I can talk to you. I can be compassionate. If you have a problem, like, let's talk. But like, I don't have that neurotic like drive to like, yeah, are you okay? Or da, 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 I think it's where a lot of people, for sure, myself in the past went off the path, the highest path, I should say.
Yes. And and the more we cultivate these true selves, the more we're going to be also able to see it in others. Because when we're helping others, like one of the mistakes that, some people do, like healers, psychologists, therapists, everyone who is in service to others, it's identifying with the identity, like trying to heal the identity, or he's identifying with the victim, identifying with the wound, with the illness. It's
Mhm.
when we are able to connect with that, with true essence of that thing, then we're able to really help them, because that's what we're doing. We're just being this source of truth to others. We're being this this source of truth to ourselves. And from this place, we allow life to do whatever it needs to do.
Mm.
It's not really us. Like that's really beautiful when recognizing that. I remember that there was this Lakota in a book, The Black Elk Speaks. He wrote that. He wrote that at some point he started recognizing that anytime that he believed he was the one who was doing the healing stopped. He was not able to do it.
Mm.
And when
No,
he
that's
recognized
major.
that he's just creating this space for healing to happen. When
Yeah.
he's just bringing these sorts of awareness and presence, then healing happens. But it's not. We're not really doing it. It's just healing
Yeah.
happens, forgiveness happens, integration happens.
I love that. Yeah, the spiritual community, I mean, everyone needs a dose of that medicine, but the spiritual community and the healers and, in my experience, seeing like the spiritual narcissist types, and yeah, I've got those tendencies too. That's otherwise I wouldn't be able to see it in other people. But that's truth that goes across every like great teacher, I think. And even Jesus was saying that. It's like, look, it's not me, it's the Father in me. And the Father, mistranslated, over time to just the presence of God flowing through us and just seeking to be that open hearted, vessel and channel for that magnificent energy to flow through and, flow in other people and inspire their awarenesses to come alive. And rather than saying that I'm the guru, depend on me and all that type of stuff. And that's where I think we see a lot of the yoga gurus, especially recently being trounced and being exposed as rapists and like just abusers and just like crazy because they're trying to put themselves on this big tower in front of the class and be this like wise person. Like, no, man, that's not the way, bro. It's gonna lead you astray pretty bad.
Right. It also creates a lot of stress. Like, from my own experience, when I started doing this, the work as a coach and in being at service for people, I was working for my head. Like, oh, I have all these ideas. Okay, now I'm going to do this. And before every session, I had all this structure in my mind. This is what we're going to be doing. And it was not really working. It was not, and I was carrying a lot of stress, because I was becoming responsible for them, and that's
Yeah,
becoming like the savior, which is a
yeah,
very common identity that men carry, thinking that you have to be responsible for everybody. And that's not really helping anybody. So
yeah,
it's very different when you realize that you're not responsible for them, but you definitely could be a source of transformation. And it's really difficult. Our responsibility then is just being that example, being that source of presence. That's why I say in the most beautiful ways that it becomes like addictive, because I love to tap into this state of presence and inspiration because it feels really good. And that's why when I'm working with people now, it's not taking energy away from me. It's actually, growing my energy because I'm being more committed to be the source of inspiration, of life, of presence, which is a source of energy and vitality.
yeah, yeah. I love that. Makes me think of leading up to the last Pursuit of Kings event. We talked to a lot of women, talked to a lot of people and mentors of mine, and tried to figure out what should we really share. And speaking with the women, one of the most important things was just, guys, we just want you to be present. We want you to just like stop talking, like stop like thinking, just like be here with me and like feel what I'm saying. And it's interesting how that relates to life in general, and how that's what the women in our lives are really really seeking. When you work with couples or when you work with women, what else are women seeking from men that we're not as consistently delivering as would be ideal?
Yeah, I see three main things that women look in men. Like, I'm gonna leave the most important at the end, which is related to what you're saying. So one of them is a clear vision. A man who is guided by purpose. A man who is like, a lot of men make the mistake of making the entire focus, the partner, the wife, the girlfriend, the woman, and even though sometimes some women might say that that's what they want. That's not really what they want. They want to be part of the party. They don't want to be the whole party. When that happens, they just lose respect and they cannot trust you because you're fully focused on it. You're not really being guided by any purpose. But when you're guided by purpose, when you have a clear vision of where you're going, when you have direction, which is one of the qualities of the masculine, you have clear direction, then women can respect you and they can trust you. So that's one important thing. The other one, it's being able to have clear boundaries, knowing when to say no and when to say yes. And the same thing, I'm not talking about, doing from your ego. I am the macho man. This is, this is what needs to be done. That crap, I'm not talking about that crap. I'm talking about being in the heart and really being in alignment with truth, with your purpose, and knowing when something is no and something is yes from your heart. That's so important. When you are all about yes, pleasing women lose respect completely because they cannot trust you. Like you're like a boy telling you, pleasing me. Oh, but that's not a real man. They want somebody who's really able to be clear. Yes, no, okay. That's so they can relax and feel safe. And the third one, which is the most important one, probably, it's emotional intelligence, which is being able to self-regulate your own emotions, being able to be aware of your emotions, which is what we were saying, be able to be in contact with your body. And in the same way, when you are able to self-regulate your emotions, you're able to be a leader. You're able to connect with others, be aware of others people's feelings, and also know how to influence others. Because it's influencing is different to be the boss. You do that, you do this. That's not really a leader. A leader is somebody who knows how to influence because he knows how to influence himself. So
Mhm.
um, that connection, it connected with what you're saying about being fully present, because the feminine energy, it's more related. Like I really like this metaphor that it's we commonly use, which is the feminine energy is more like the water. The water that sometimes is calm, sometimes like the tsunami, but it's the emotions. That emotional aspect is the feminine energy. The masculine energy is more like the mountain. It's, we're very present. When we're fully present here, we allow the feminine energy to feel, to relax, and to feel safe. So that's one of the main things that feminine energy looking to masculine energy. That real presence that we're able to be fully here, not in our heads, but fully here, being that pillar of presence. So that's what what I always have to share about. Yes.
Yeah, I love that, man. So, in my youth, there was a lot of, I think, and culturally, there's a very um there's a greater awareness of toxic masculinity now, and the patriarchy, and whereas we have screwed things up in the past. And I think that's led to, kind of throwing the man out with the patriarchy in a sense, and a lot of toxic femininity that is emerging, that's not serving, any of us. And but I can see where it comes from, a righteous place, or a place that wants positive change. I think part of what you're saying about feminine energy is it's excited by the need for change. When something needs to change, the feminine is activated. It goes, "Oh, something needs to change." You're like, "We need to change now. Like something's wrong." And then I think the masculine oftentimes should be like the leadership. Okay, I'm aware of that part. Now we're going to go do this thing to fix it. So when you look at men in this, um, toxic place, or in a lack of presence, or a lack of awareness of ourselves, what's your advice or process for guys to discover more of what healthy masculinity is?
Yes. So I definitely will invite a man who feels called to expand in his masculine energy, in his consciousness as a carrier of masculine energy, to take serious action. Like maybe join us in one of these retreats, join some type of work that helped you to go through a ritual of initiation, because a lot of these things are something that needs to happen in your consciousness, in your body, in your subconscious aspect, not only in the logical aspect. So it is, you could understand some things that might help you, but really there's some things that needs to be integrated to, so you could really be present in connection with your heart, with you, who you really are. Because just by with me saying to you, connect with your heart, again, you might be trying to understand this and do it in an understanding level, which is it's never gonna be able to happen. You're never gonna connect with your heart just by understanding something. You gotta really practice and tap into these exercises that are ritual that help you to reconnect with your heart, with your true self. So that's
Mhm.
something that I would definitely, invite. But if
Yeah.
just a very simple thing that you could do today is just bring, meditation, some practices that help you to tap into those layers of the unconscious so you can allow that integration to happen.
Hmm. Yeah, I love that. And anyone listening, Pursuit of Kings at the Pursuit of Kings on here on Instagram. Our next retreat, excursion. I just that word retreat bothers me so much because we're not retreating from anything. We're going forward into life. We're attacking with love into life. We're not retreating from anything. Next one is June 18th as it begin. And any guys listening, please join us. Any women out there that if this resonates with you, if you want to hear more, if you want your guys to come more into alignment with what we're discussing here, please shoot me a DM with their information or get us in touch in any kind of way. Get them over to the Instagram page if you're here in South Florida. We'll be meeting on Wednesday, the 6th, coming up this year on Wednesday at 6:30 with the doors open at 7 o'clock. The workshops will begin at Plant the Future. Amazing venue. Big shout out to Plant the Future. You guys are awesome. And we're looking forward to continue to expand this movement and bring some more joy and peace and order to the world that's, drifting further and further into chaos. Francesca, no worries. And thanks everybody for all your comments. Priscilla, thank you so much. Alina, I don't know if you're still on here, but Gypsy, I don't know what your name was, but you added so much here. So it was great seeing all your comments, and sorry for anybody that was speaking English on here. I'll see if we can get a transcription and post a Spanish translation to translate if that works. We'll see. Um, but yeah, man, I think we're coming up on our time here pretty soon. Anything else on your heart that you want to make people aware of right now?
I mean, that's that. I mean, just the invitation to really do your best to transform your life. There's this
Mm,
tendency to being autopilot. So it's not something that
mm,
happens in the comfort place. It's not like I see people try to change from the place of comfort, like trying to find the right pills, the surgery, or something that just change my life. And the it's not really bad news, but it's you gotta really embody transformation. You gotta really make the commitment to embody this transformation because it's not gonna be comfortable. That's something that I know, but it's
mm,
gonna change the relationship that you have with comfort and with pain. Because
yeah.
that's where the magic happens when
Yes.
we're able to bring more peace to the unknown, to the mystery, to the discomfort. That's where actually the magic and the joy of life happens when we're able to flow in this space of mystery, really surrendering
Mhm.
to the guidance of life. So my invitation to you is to really, you know, what you have to do. If you don't know, just look for some help. But really make a commitment today. Take a step today to really be part of this transformation. We are in a very important time of the world. We are living through a very important crisis, and you could be part of the resistance that is trying to hold into, I don't change. Let's stay how things were in the past. Or you could really embody transformation, doing your part, being this source of presence, love, and connection to the heart. So that's my invitation to all of
Yeah.
us.
Massive, man. I love that. And if you're watching this, not only are we a part of a massive meta transformation going on right now, extremely important, but every single one of us is absolutely critical. And it's easy for us to fall into that resistance of saying, who am I to make a difference? Who am I to be special? Who am I to blah, 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 blah? Who are you not? Who
Mm.
are you? How dare you be aware of these things? How dare you be aware of a greater dream you can create and not do it? Thousands of people, thousands of generations have gone through terrible suffering and work to get you here. It's not an accident that you're here and that you face the challenge face and you have the wisdom that you've collected. And it's up to you to activate that divine force in yourself for transformation, for change, for yourself and for the world, to embody something greater, to express something greater, to be a role model for something greater, and to create something greater. You have a dream inside you for a business, for a nonprofit, for whatever, for a book club. It can start small, but just start, just do something meaningful. And in my experience, that's where the alleviation of suffering, anxiety, depression, et cetera, really alleviates is when we lean into responsibility, or when we lean into meaning and purpose and do things that legitimately speak to our soul that wants to create something powerful and beautiful.
Yes, I hold to that. Amen to that. Yes. Thank you so much, Jackson.
Yeah. Well,
I agree.
cool. Well, Diego, so great to know you. Everyone follow Diego. Make sure that you do that, and follow after things. And I can't wait to see what else we create together, man. It's super exciting. I just love your perspective, and just can't wait to share and create more on this most beautiful addiction.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Let's surrender. Let's see what other beauties we're gonna be able to co-create in this time. So excited, man. Also to everything that is happening in this mission that is carrying us. So good, man. Thank you for opening this space for the invitation, and looking forward to keep on expanding this mission, man.
Yes, sir. My pleasure, man. My honor. Can't wait. All right, bro. Talk soon.
All right, man. Okay,
See you.
take care. Thanks to
Thanks
everyone.
for joining.
Yes.